Genesis chapter 50. This is the final chapter in Genesis. It's part 9 of the chapters before. Joseph buries his father and then he dies. Verses 1 through 3. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed. The Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. So once Israel dies, passes away, Joseph is mourning. He weeps over him and kisses him because that's his father, and they mean a lot to each other. The physicians embalm Joseph, and even the Egyptians mourn for Jacob. Jacob's not even Egyptian, but that just shows the impact that he had and how important of a man he was. Verses 4 and 5. Now when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Behold, I am dying in my grave which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. There you shall bury me. Now therefore, please let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back. The last chapter I said that they buried Jacob, but they actually didn't. They bury him in this chapter. But Joseph has to ask permission for Pharaoh to go to the land of Canaan. That's the place that Jacob wanted to be buried with all his ancestors. It's the Holy Land. Verses 7 through 9. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the house of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, their flocks and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great gathering. All those people for one man, who didn't even live in Egypt for the majority of his life. Jacob was from the land of Canaan. He probably didn't have that much relation with these people. But this goes to show that Jacob must have been a good man if he impacted all those people. And Joseph must be also a good man if those people are willing to honor Joseph by going to his father's funeral. And so they get there and they mourn. Even the Canaanites who are just watching mourn, and then they bury him. Then they all went back to Egypt. Verses 15 through 17. Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead. They said, Perhaps Joseph will hate us, and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, Before your father died, he commanded, saying, Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of God your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Now the brothers are saying, maybe Joseph was just being nice because our dad Jacob was still alive. He was just being a nice guy in front of our father. Now he's actually going to repay us for all the sins that we did. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him because he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I love you guys, and I'm not going to be petty and strike revenge. Keep in mind, he's still proud of all the movements they made, how they've gotten better as people. But this goes to show that even if you get better as a person, that doesn't mean you can take it easy, because there's still going to be thoughts in your head that are going to try to convince you of things that are not true. Verses 18 through 20. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we are servants. Joseph said to them, Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. The brothers give themselves up as servants. Joseph is like, I'm not God. I don't need you guys to be servants. You guys are my brothers and I love you. The bad thing that you did to me, sure it was bad, but a lot of good came out of it. Look where we are now. Don't be afraid. I love you guys. I'll provide for you and even for your descendants. He's just reassuring that he loves them and he hopes that they can have love for each other. Verses 22 and 23. When Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. The children of Mashir, the son of Manasseh, also brought up on Joseph's knees. That promise he just made, he didn't give up on it. He did take care of them and their children. Joseph has so much love to give. Verses 24 through 26. Joseph said to his brethren, I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Joseph took an oath from the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Now Joseph died. One of the best people we've seen in the Bible so far. He just passed away, but he lived an amazing life. Even as he's dying, he's reassuring that God was not only with him in his life, but he's with them in their lives. And God's going to bring them success and protect them. They didn't bury him in Canaan, the chosen land, but during word it says that they would end up doing that 400 years later. Not only the message for this chapter, but the message for the entirety of Genesis is just love and protection. Throughout the entire book of Genesis, God has covenants with his chosen people, and he promises them success, happiness, and constant love. Even in this chapter, they talk about how God will bring you to the promised land. Joseph, a lot of the times in Genesis, serves as God's instrument. He's a protector and he's a lover too throughout his whole life. So I'd say that Genesis is a constant message of picking yourself up where you fall short and becoming a loving person through everything, promising to love people and do the best you can no matter what. We should all try to be like Joseph. We should all get closer to God because he'll protect us and he always loves us. Thank you guys for watching.